Alright, so for December, our part of speech is adjectives. And just like it says, adjectives are where the magic is. And you're going to see what exactly that means during this video. Alright, so adjectives are words that make writing cool, they make it descriptive, and they make it fun to read. The more descriptive adjectives you get in a story or in something you're reading, the easier it is to visualize and it makes it come more to life. So what are adjectives exactly? Adjectives are words that describe nouns or pronouns. For instance, the red ball bounced down the bumpy driveway. We can see the nouns in this sentence are ball and driveway. So what are the words that describe the ball? The red ball bounced down the bumpy driveway. This sentence could just say the ball bounced down the driveway, but the words red and bumpy give it more description. So it's easier to visualize it. Here's another one. The hungry players ran into the stinky locker room after practice for a tasty snack. So the first noun, players, hungry, is describing the players, ran into the locker room. So actually stinky and locker would both be adjectives because it could just say the players ran into the room. Stinky and locker describing what room? After practice for a tasty snack. If you take those adjectives out, you still have a sentence. The players ran into the room after practice for a snack. But hungry, stinky, locker, and tasty give it more description. Alright, so I want you to take just a second, so maybe pause the video for 30 seconds in a minute, and then think of as many adjectives as you can to describe snow. It's winter, so it could very possibly be snowing outside right now. Take a minute, describe snow. Alright, did you think of some adjectives? You should have, because any words you use to describe snow are going to be adjectives, so I thought of some. White, cold, fluffy, wet, heavy are all words you can use to describe snow. So you probably had more than I did, hopefully. Maybe you had some different ones, maybe you had some ones that are the same, but you would be writing adjectives. Alright, so now let's do it again. Instead of using snow, now we're going to use grass. Hopefully we see some nice green grass in the future. So, pause it. Think of adjectives to describe grass. Alright, you ready? I only came up with a few for right now, but green grass. You can also have brown grass. You can have short grass. Grass can be soft, like on a baseball field. Or you can have grass that's very dry, like if it hasn't rained for a while. So, all those words you came up with would be adjectives. So far adjectives seem pretty easy. They just describe nouns, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth. For instance, we need to talk about comparative and superlative forms of adjectives. Adjectives also can compare nouns. You use them a lot to do that. A lot of times you compare nouns by using words that end in ER. So, like, Jim is taller than George. Taller would be an adjective comparing the two. You compare more than two nouns by using words that end with EST. Jim is taller than George. Jim is the tallest in his class. Two nouns, ER, three nouns. More than two, EST. Now, if we get adjectives that are longer adjectives, like 3 or more syllables, instead of adding ER or EST to them, we add more or most. And on the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. So really what you need to take away about adjectives is that there are 3 forms. There's the positive form, which is just the adjectives, the simplest form, tall. There's the comparative form. If you're comparing two things, only two things, not more than two, you add that ER or you add more. Then there's the superlative form. That's 3 or more. Super, 3 or more, that's kind of the way I remember it. That's when you add EST or most. Positive, comparative, superlative. Alright, so I want you to practice positive, comparative, and superlative form. So I've given you 6 adjectives over here off to the side in their positive form, just the simple form. I want you to take a moment and make them comparative and make them superlative. So you should use those notes from the last slide by which words do you add ER to, which ones do you add EST, which ones do you add more, and which ones do you add most. So pause the video, take a minute, fill this chart out. Alright, if you're ready, here we go. So red, you have redder and reddest. So Jim's face was redder than George's. It sounds kind of funny, but that's correct. Tinier and tiniest. Softer, softest. Now we get to this one. We don't have beautifuler and beautifulest. We have more beautiful, most beautiful. Because beautiful is 3 syllables or more. Beautiful. We do have just larger and largest. And then we don't have difficulter and difficultest. We have more difficult, most difficult. So Mr. Hayden's test was the most difficult I had. You'd be comparing my test to all of the other tests you took. Did you know, quick little tidbit, that a and an are actually adjectives? They're limiting adjectives because they actually limit what the adjective is referring to, so they limit the nouns that they're referring to. So if I say go get a box, a is telling you how many boxes to get. So you're getting just a single box, not a bunch of boxes. So that's why a and an are actually adjectives. You use a before consonant sounds, use an before vowel sounds. Alright, so just like how nouns can be proper nouns, like your name is a proper noun, adjectives can also be proper too. Some adjectives, like nouns, can be proper. If an adjective is made from a proper noun, it gets a capital letter just like a proper noun would. You're probably trying to think, Mr. Hayden, what the heck are you talking about? Let's take this for instance. They mostly refer to places. So like, I love Italian food a lot more than Chinese food. Italian and Chinese are describing the type of food, so they're adjectives, but they're proper because they come from places. So Italian and Chinese, excuse me for that, Italian and Chinese come from places, come from proper nouns, so they are actually proper adjectives, and they get a capital letter just like any other proper noun would. So South American soccer team, South American would be adjectives describing the team. American football, American would be capitalized because that would be a proper adjective. And the last concept we need to talk about are demonstrative adjectives. These point to a specific person or a specific thing. So like if I say, this is my favorite pen, this is an adjective telling you which pen I'm talking about. I'm probably holding the pen that I'm talking about. Or that paper is hard to understand. Them is also a pronoun. It's never used to describe a noun. So it's not an adjective, it's only going to be a pronoun. Them dogs are loud is not correct, not at all. So don't do that. This and that are usually the most common demonstrative adjectives. I'm going to that game after school. That would be an adjective describing the game. So you can see how that works, hopefully. Alright, so I want you to take these 5 sentences and find all of the adjectives in them, the words that are describing nouns, and then pause it, take a second, answer these, and then when you're ready, hit play, and we will go over the answers. Alright, so here are your answers. In the first one, just beautiful is describing the girlfriend. Quickly is not an adjective, because ran is not a noun. Ran is a verb. So quickly is describing a verb, not a noun, so that's not an adjective. Furry tennis are describing what type of ball he threw. And then the white is describing the wall. So furry, tennis, white are adjectives. 3 and yummy are describing the cookies. Mike's hair is shorter than John's. So shorter is an adjective actually that's describing the difference between Mike's and John's. Adrian makes amazing goals in soccer. Amazing is describing the type of goals. Alright, so this is the last exercise, and this talks about positive, comparative, and superlative. So I've given you a sentence, and there's a little blank in here, and you need to fill in the blank with the proper form of the adjective. So Bill is tall than Alex. That doesn't make sense. You need to add something to tall, short, so on and so forth. In this bottom one, but Alex is the blank boy in class, and I want you to use a form of friend. So take a minute, do that, and then when you're ready, hit play. Alright, so here are your answers. You should have Bill is taller than Alex, because it's just comparing two. Alex is shorter than June. Again, just comparing two, so we're just adding ER. June is the tallest in her class. We're assuming her class is more than 2 people, so it's EST. Bill is the tallest boy in the class. Again, we're assuming there's more than 2 boys. Finally, but Alex is the friendliest boy in the class. Now, I would take friendliest. I would have also taken most friendly, because friendly is kind of in that gray area. It's not 3 syllables, but Friendliest kind of sounds funky, so I would take either one of those as the answer. So hopefully you know more about adjectives, and you can use your notes that you've taken in this video to complete the packet, and make sure you do that so you can ace the adjective quiz coming up.